covered it in 5 minutes.
I know the basic.
Don't judge me, you fuck.
Some unusually shoddy preparedness.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Autopod Decepticast, your bi-weekly podcast that delivers an episode-by-episode breakdown of the original G1 series. I'm your host, Aaron, but before we get into the episode, a little bit about our past. You know, at one point in time, I was this young bachelor. I was coming of age as a wealthy royal prince in my home country of Zamunda. Well, in my country, when your 21st birthday comes around, it's wedding time. And my horn dog father had prearranged a little something with a beautiful buxom lass from the countryside, daughter of a general and all, but I couldn't shake the feeling that true love awaited outside the confines of my cultural straitjacket. So I wanted an affection based on truth, not material things. And under the guise of conducting some royal oats sowing, my trusted friend and advisor, and a bit of a hound himself, Caleb, he and I planned a trip to find my truest love in none other than Queens, NYC, New York. Yes, we were coming to America to find my hopeful bride, and we set up our cover story as poor foreign exchange students, and the race was on. Well, I went on several unsuccessful dates, one of which I'm pretty sure was just Caleb in drag, but nevertheless, my jovial barber, he's a barber and a neighbor, he convinced me that the place to meet a good girl is church. So that's where I met Lisa, the most sweet, captivating woman in the world. She was the daughter of the owner of a local fast food emporium where their buns had no seeds. So to get close to her, we took a job at said restaurant where I tried to mop my way into her heart. But that's where I discovered my chief romantic rival, the jerry-curled jet man, Mr. Ryan himself. And I got to tell you, I don't believe his intentions with me were the purest, as he took every attempt to shut me down. But you know, my heart is pure, and I'm ever optimistic. I committed myself to my work and focused on building my friendship with Lisa. Well, my opportunity came when Jet over here got a little too familiar and prematurely announced an engagement without Lisa's consent. What the hell were you thinking? Lisa and I got closer. We went on an amazing date where Lisa got to see more of the real me, but of course my secret princely backstory was still obscured from her. But we danced, we embraced, we smooched. I was in to be loved. Meanwhile, Caleb and Ryan were doing everything they could to kill my vibe. Of course, Ryan tried to do what he could to secure his relationship with Lisa's father. He was trying to lock that shit down. Caleb, he couldn't stand living the more modest student exchange lifestyle. So he requested and spent a boatload of cashola, nearly blew my cover as a poor student. Well, his lavish expenses alarmed my father, who brought his whole goddamn royal entourage to New York City to check on things. And I gotta tells you, when Lisa discovered my royal ruse, she was hot pissed. I tried to explain that I wanted to find a woman who loved me for who I am, not what I am. And I even told her I'd renounce my throne, but that couldn't stop her. She was angry, hurt. Of course she felt manipulated, and it didn't help that my father basically called her a New York floozy to me, but it was over between Lisa and me. I left with my family, returned to Zamunda. I was resigned to commit to this arranged marriage, and guess what? My good old mom, she was turning the screws on Pop with wise words about clinging to outdated traditions. I mean, who's he to change tradition? The king, that's who. And so on my wedding day, when the veil was lifted, you could bet that I was excited to see Lisa's smiling face just looking back at me. So, gentlemen, please introduce yourself and tell me your most egregious act of cultural appropriation.
He beat Joe Lewis's ass.
That's a pretty
Ryan.
good.
And I'm Caleb. Zamunda forever.
I was going to say, Ryan, your most egregious act of cultural appropriation is all the times you use the phrase "shot the club up" in the last episode.
I will say, it's interesting that it's not my act of cultural appropriation, but it's your act of cultural appropriation to continually make reference that I am the white Arsenio Hall.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. There are pictures. I put that picture of you next to Arsenio Hall. I think it was the same one I did with me and Dan Fielding from Night Court.
Oh, and I love that.
Ryan, of course, is the black Dan Fielding.
I'm sure.
He's the short Dan Fielding.
Yes, I'm sure that if I did a DNA test, it would come back 99.9% just general European white dude.
And probably 50% John Larroquette.
Well, Caleb, at one point in time, you did look a lot.
A lot
like
like-
Arsenio
sure.
Hall. I couldn't ever get. I still can't get over it.
Yeah.
It was the
And
huge head and tiny neck.
I thought it was your high top fade and the sharp suits you wore every night and that talk show you did.
The fist
true.
pumping.
Yeah, that's true. That helped.
And your posse that continually followed you around that you referred to as the dog pound.
Yes, that would be you guys.
Before we get into this episode, let's transform into our alt mode of lushes.
Oh, I hope this catchphrase sticks around. All right.
All right, Jet, what's the cocktail of the week?
Hey, this is the Insecticon Bogyo skin.
Okay.
I tried to find something that was like a drink that was near Bali because that's where we are in this episode. I thumbed through the book for about an hour, jigger beaker and glass, and there's probably somewhere closer than the northern Philippines, which is like 1,700 miles away, but this recipe comes from the northern area of the Philippines. So, in a well-stemmed wine glass, put 1 teaspoon sugar dissolved in a trifle of water, a dash of orange bitters. On top of this, place 2 thin slices of lime, 3 large ice cubes, and a shot of Bacardi Gold. It's Bacardi Gold, basically. It had some other name for it, but Carta Oro, I think. Stir with a bar spoon and serve as is with a final dusting of grated nutmeg on top. We consider this one of the finest possible and find that 1 pair of orange or jasmine blossoms stirred into each glass lends the true tropical, fragrant touch that guests like. And I added some blossoms from my lemon tree.
Oh, wonderful.
Got lemon blossoms
Well,
in here, awesome.
where last episode we had a Scotch cocktail. I am certainly more of a rum connoisseur than Scotch, and so I'm excited
so
about this
fragrant.
personally.
I can smell the lemon
ding.
blossoms in it. It smells really like. The smell is great.
Yeah, and I like the spice aroma that's connected to this as well. What was the spice you put in it?
Nutmeg. Grated nutmeg.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm feeling this immediately.
I like it.
I would. I like this. I think I'd like it with a little spritzer of soda in it.
Club soda would be good with this, yeah.
But it.
But I like a good
The
strong.
aroma, just the blossoms alone, with the nutmeg, really smell really great.
Yeah, good one. I'm into it. I'm feeling.
I'm
it.
glad.
I'm feeling
It's
it.
very pretty,
I'm waiting
too.
for that drink where we're like, this is terrible.
We did in one of those. There was
A
a
singular.
There was a punch that nobody liked,
Yeah.
including myself. Right before we get into anything else, I did want to ask Caleb if I could put those pictures of the Dirty Man
Yes.
Transformer up.
Yeah, Ryan got me a really great Christmas present. While we were at TFCon in DC, I in the what do they call it?
The merchandising room
Area.
Why can't I think? There's a
The
rule
dealer's
over it.
room.
Thank
Dealer's
you.
room.
That's it.
I spotted this transforming toilet.
Yep.
It was like a Japanese daisho character and like a medieval or Edo period Japanese character with the banners that connect to the back, so you could see which side they were on or clan they represented. And he's called Dirty Man, and he transforms into a toilet. So it put out by Toy Wolf. They have like a white porcelain, a gold one, and then they had an exclusive black, all black one at some point. And there's also a cat, one called Waterman, a cat figure that turns into a urinal. But I loved them. I opened it up, and the transforming instructions come in a rolled up scroll. And
It was pretty awesome
yeah,
when you opened it. Yeah.
his accessories are like he's got a plunger and a roll of toilet paper and like a little tiny plastic like poop, like kind of in the shape of a poop emoji. It's fantastic. And yeah, absolutely, Ryan. You can post.
Okay,
post
yeah,
this.
it was very cool.
Interesting that the character that I like at TFCon is not really he transforms. He's not a canon transformer character.
yeah, nothing to
Very
do with what we
awesome.
talk about.
And I have yet to transform him into a toilet. He's still in the die show, and I like probably will pose him with all of his weapons laid out, and like you can have him. He's the what do they call it? Where you can move them.
Articulation.
Points of articulation.
Articulations, it's for such a squat character is actually really, really good. The feet and the arms and the legs and even the head, really good articulation. So I was pleasantly surprised. I almost bought it while I was there, and then I backed out, and I'd kind of given up on getting one. And lo and behold, I opened up my Christmas present, and Ryan's got it there. Yeah, by all means, post it.
That we
It's
haven't even
great.
talked about our little get together, our APDC Christmas.
That's a good point. Well, welcome to the end of January.
Yeah.
Ryan also got me some awesome Transformers related gifts in the form of a tray that it has like the original back of the box art. And it's like a dinner tray that you might place upon your lap when having a television dinner in the 80s. Perhaps you're going to watch the A-Team or some other such nonsense.
Fall
And
Guy.
I was kind of surprised it was in such good shape.
It's
like
in
the paint, is
really good shape. And it's just a little like dented.
That's good
And-
though.
Yeah,
I like that.
You got to have that
And
character.
we should have talked about this last episode because I also got you one of those like big look. Was it big look? The books, those weird books, like illustrated books of the Transformers. The Plague, in the Plague of
Yes.
Insecticons. I got you that one about the Insecticons
and a couple comic books.
Yeah.
I have that one as well.
Yes, you'd posted that I think on Twitter before, that Plague of Insecticons.
I have.
It's like a
I own-
story time book. There's probably a cassette associated with it. Why didn't you give me the cassette, Ryan?
There is one. I can't find mine, but I've had mine for a while, and that's an interesting story where like Bombshell put some sort of mind control into Beachcomber, maybe.
I can't. Is it Mirage?
One of them.
Oh, the book. I might be confusing that book in the episode. I haven't flipped through the book yet.
Yeah, and they in the book also the Insecticons are tiny. Like in the show, they're big, but in that book, and maybe later in the show, I don't know, they mass change.
In the
being
comic
tiny.
book, they mass change
Yeah.
quite a bit. They go from tiny,
They can spy
like being
better
on
that way.
leaves, to being bigger. I got you guys the Haley thing, but we covered that
That's true.
already.
That was an early Christmas present.
The boombox bottle openers.
The blaster bottle opener, and she threw in those awesome APDC magnets. I have that on the fridge.
I got Aaron a big book of
Oh yeah, I want to look at that.
of restaurant menus from design from the 1850s until the 1980s.
That's
basically.
hanging out in our mid-century room. That's a
Nice.
show
That means
showpiece
You'll
book.
probably never look at it then.
No, it's tucked away.
No. So that's a cool book.
I put that directly in the toilet.
Where it belongs.
No, I definitely want to look at that. It looked really cool. I was very jealous.
It was a fun Christmas celebration at my house.
I posted that
Played
video of
laser
you guys
tag.
playing laser tag,
I think that-
where
that-
Caleb was playing like old timey piano music.
Yeah, the laser tag was great.
The video Caleb shot from behind was really compelling.
Yeah, like
Where you're kind of behind me as I was engaging in the action.
kind of similar to a first person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll call it a third person.
It became the afternoon. I mean, we
Yeah,
played
I think
laser
that was
tag.
Melody's present to the
And
boys.
we've played with the you guys got us the laser
was a
tag
lot
was
of
the
fun.
biggest hit. And
Yep.
we figure out why the one gun wasn't working. Just batteries.
low battery.
Low batteries.
And
Okay.
I will say, my son is, I can't beat him. Like
At
Well,
laser,
he is a little
You mean at
cheater.
laser tag? You can.
he does cheat.
You can do corporeal punishment.
Corporeal.
Corporal is the word I'm searching. You could beat him,
Like
but
the next day we played all day, and like he beat me like 50 times out of, I maybe beat him once.
It could be
Stupid young
I know
kid
it could be the
reflexes.
cheating. It could be the cheating.
Yes, I'm
It
sure.
It could also, you're a kid. You figure out the ins and outs of what, like how you could hide your weapon or whatever,
Yeah.
like how you could.
Yeah, it was the
strategies,
weird
develop
laser tag
strategies.
because the sensor was on the gun. So if you just cover that part up, like it's not like it was whenever we were kids, where the sensor was a vest you
chest.
wore.
But does it have to be received visually? Can it go through your hands?
You mean
if
line
you're
of
covered
sight?
up?
I don't think
No.
so. I mean, it's just radio waves.
I don't know what it is with him. We traded guns. I thought maybe it's a problem with the guns. We traded guns, and to the point where I was like, "You just stand there. I'm gonna shoot you, shoot me," and like, there's something about
He knows something.
his accuracy was more effective than mine.
His reflexes
It was
are
really
probably
frustrating.
Using the
faster
same
as well.
The
weapon
gu-
level.
I wouldn't like it as much if the guns weren't so much fun to shoot. 'Cause
They
make a
are.
good
They are.
sound. They vibrate when you shoot them.
You got that like you
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
hit the
Hit the
clip
bottom
in
to
the bottom.
reload.
Yeah.
We'll have to try him and we need to try him outside because I want to see what the range is like. If I can like hit him from 50 yards away or something.
I could never discern whether I could hit you guys whenever you were outside. I didn't know if that worked or not.
I know we could hit you because I could see
Yeah.
it happening.
Yeah. You can shoot through mirrors too. I was doing that a lot. I'd find a good place where I have a mirror and I could like surprise people. They couldn't tell I was shooting them through the mirror.
Yeah.
Surprise people.
That was a lot of fun.
It was.
That was the game of the day. What was the construction game or where you're building that tower and you
I
try to
had
make
you guys play a couple of
Oh,
board
yeah.
games. I had you guys play Crokinole.
That was
fun.
great.
Crokinole, it's a Canadian game. We
It's
played
like
it's like darts and shuffleboard,
Yeah.
all rolled into one. And then we played suspense or suspend, where we were like hanging pieces.
Did
from-
Carolina win that? I can't remember. Anyway, it was fun. That was fun.
We had a good afternoon. It was all afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's good times.
I found a new love for making a charcuterie board.
Oh yeah, did we get any good pictures of Ryan's shark bee?
I did.
What?
Shark bee.
Oh, I see.
I don't got time for all that.
I got some pictures.
Good. Okay, but definitely, yeah, that was beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, I had a lot of fun putting that together. And everybody, Andy and West were both like, this is my favorite because this is how I like to eat. Just little things, just around.
Yeah, you didn't just like get a cutting board, put some summer sausage
Ryan
on it with a
always-
hunk of cheese.
Ryan
it was
goes
like
all
this
out.
shark. I mean, it
Always
was
goes
like
all out.
it looked like an overhead shot of the Brazilian rainforest from a mile up. Just all these little segmented, beautiful areas. And,
Like we're into now
Mm-hmm.
on the episode.
Good job.
Oh, what a great transition! Except I still have to do the last episode recap.
Oh.
The Trinity of Doom was completed along with the additional Dr. Arkeville coda. It's all closed out. It's time to focus, get back to some one-offs. You know,
That's right.
God.
and
Thank
those,
God.
those one-offs start with. I think one of my very favorite episodes so far, and that's a Plague of Insecticons.
I really liked this one.
From December 29th, 1984, Vic Caroli kicks us off with a little opening. Indonesia, tropical island, the demon swamp, Bali. It's ancient, it's mysterious, it's creepy. It doesn't exist, by the way. I looked it up to see if demon swamp was a real thing.
We still do have one episode after this, Heavy Metal War, to round out season 1, but this was the last episode that was aired in season 1,
Oh, is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
December 29th.
Very good. There is no such thing as demon swamp. However, there is a Bog the Swamp Demon, which originated in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics.
Oh. Oh, no.
That's a little something for you.
I will say on Tubi TV, which is how I watch this, the description for this episode is the Autobots must rely on their intelligence and all of their resources,
Oh, that's
which is the vaguest description I've ever heard, but also
also means they're doomed.
exactly. I was like, oh no, they fucked.
Well, Vic explains to us that a new type of robotic organism lives here. It's an organism that we'll find has a very eccentric, echoey manner of speaking. There and floating downriver, these Insecticons, they see the canoe equivalent of a convoy here, and they carry off. They want to carry off this cargo as cuisine.
Yeah, it's like grain. Basically, these guys are canoeing with grain in the boats.
Yeah.
And I really like the Insecticons, and it occurred to me maybe I just like animal robots, like because I love the Dinobots, I love the Insecticons, I love the Predacons.
I was gonna get into that maybe later, but I'll just say it now. I don't know if this is a good episode or not in terms of like story and character development or any of that kind of stuff. But I do love the episode, and I think it's because I love the Insecticons so much. I have 3 versions of them represented from 3 different companies, and I don't know why I like them so much. I loved them as a kid. I think they might have been my favorite grouping of of characters.
They were super simple too. Like the toys were like 3 points, and basically you had it transformed.
Yeah.
I also like the concept of like, and we'll get into this, I know, but that there's the possibility, and we've already seen this with Skywarp, of other Autobots that are on the Earth yet undiscovered.
That is another thing that makes this episode giddy for me. Is it was the first. We finally are introduced to new bad guys.
Yeah,
bringing new Decepticons in the mix, which frankly they need.
Honestly, every time this and later the Constructicons show up, their origin story is bizarre. Like we'll get into it in a second, where the Insecticons' origin story doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah. This is also cart before the horse. How come every time, like with bad guys, they are in the Transformers universe, they all end up being clones of each other? You've got all these Seekers, all these Reflectors, and Insecticons can also duplicate by the thousands.
I mean, it's either that or they have them wear the red uniform.
Yeah, the red shirts.
Yeah, and also it's just a factor of you can only make so many characters, I guess, and you need cannon fodder. And you're going to kill more bad guys than you are good guys.
It's weird.
There is no Autobot equivalent of cannon fodder.
That is strange, where there are no Autobot duplicates, and they're just like, fuck it, make a bunch of reflectors.
But also early in G1, you just had a lot more I basically, on my shelves
It's true.
I have the entire G1, most of the season 1 and 2 lineup represented here. And you can see I've got a whole 3 shelves of Autobots and only 1 shelf of Decepticons, and I've got the Stunticons over here on a slightly different shelf. But even if you add those into the mix, by far there is more Autobots than Decepticons by a very wide margin.
I don't know if that's a trope or not, but it's common even like in G.I. Joe. You have a lot of the same thing. Mm-hmm. What I mean, like,
it's true. They had all those different troopers that were just troopers in masks.
Yeah, and
the bats.
They lack the individuality of like a good guy, and so maybe it was. From a writer's point of view, it's like culturally, you have a lot of these things that are the same, and maybe there's connotations with that.
Stormtroopers in Star Wars, like everybody
and
that was in the Rebel Alliance had a personality.
Yeah, and I maybe because they were easily
because you could shoot them and it's okay.
They were easily disposable.
Is it a statement on conformity?
If you were going to go, if you were going to go far enough, it could be a statement on communism. But I don't want to go down that route, really. But there's a lot to be said about like a generic, homogenous
bad guy. Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, we're introduced to Shrapnel, Bombshell, and Kickback. The Insecticons, they're attacking our man-skirted misters here, chase them off, and then chow down on the grain or whatever the fuck those boats are carrying.
I guess, yeah. And I just touch on like how the Insecticons speak. Because it seems like a little more digitized than the other Cybertronians with a weird insectile like chirping almost.
Yeah.
And Shrapnel has a neat touch where he echoes the last word he says.
I feel like sometimes they all echo, right?
I thought that was true too, but in this episode at least, only Shrapnel does it, and that is again a Friedman edition.
Okay, all right, and
because in my memory, even in watching the movie, I thought they all did that, but
it's also difficult for me to ascertain who the leader is.
I think it's supposed to be Shrapnel.
Is it supposed to be Shrapnel?
Because
I feel like Bombshell makes a lot of calls.
He does, yeah. They seem really interconnected.
Yeah.
In this one,
there
at
is
least.
sort of a weird symbiosis, if that's the right word.
Caleb knows all about this episode. He watched it.
Way to just throw him under the bus for no reason.
I saw him whatsoever. I was like, oh yeah, he skipped through it as he got here today.
I woke up this morning. I even told you guys last night, like, guys, looking forward to recording tomorrow. And then I woke up this morning going, I wonder if I feel like I didn't, like, I'm missing something in preparation. And then I made the
like for your day, for your life.
No, for this morning. And I came to the realization, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't watch the episodes that we're talking about today. So I did what anyone
shouldn't do,
and I scammed through the previous episode on the way here, And I watched this one over a period of like a minute and a half, skimming ahead.
Fast forward. This looks important.
yeah.
Fast forward. I'll watch this
Yeah.
for a minute.
So that's where I'm at with this.
That's okay.
Well,
Sorry.
it is what it is.
You're here.
It's true. You were late, but it's fine.
I was late. I'm not making excuses. I tried to leave. I tried to leave on time, and I couldn't.
Hey,
But also, you're doing us the good grace of like you don't have anywhere to be. So
that's
that's
true.
why this
Normally, you're
recording
the most
session-
time constrained, so this is beautiful because we can all just hang out.
That's right.
So the Insecticons here chew down on their ill-gotten gluten, and they overhear the fleeing villagers mention a farm, which only means more food for the fleecing. They transform into robot mode, convert their cereals into glowing energy material, and then fly off.
Mm-hmm.
They eat.
So they
grass.
eat organic food
Yeah, that's the-
Yeah, that's weird.
and convert that into energon. So that has to be a specialized adaptation.
They have a
of
lot
their-
of special powers, particularly in this episode.
Yep, they're weirdos. I guess
Which is again maybe why I like them because they're so different.
I guess everybody in the world has a helpline to the Autobots because the switchboard lights up. Operator Spike takes the call. Giant robot insects sounds like a job for Skyfire's extermination service.
And again, we have Skyfire teamed up. Well, now we have Spike and Bumblebee with him, but again with Brawn and Windcharger. Mm-hmm. Like
I didn't realize that. Yeah. So do you think they were trying to make that a go-to trio?
or just I don't know. Like they were like, we need to push these toys. There was a bit there where the door closed and they were still in front of it.
Yeah. Like Spike was bye.
Yes.
Speaking of Spike saying bye, I like how he doesn't even ask permission at this point in his life.
Why would he?
He's just
Doesn't
like,
really matter.
all right, Dad, you're staying here. I'm going off into danger.
And we for sure know he's still under 16.
That's true. That's an end of the episode in piece of information because he can't drive. He can't get his license yet.
Right.
What's his dad's name again?
Sparkplug.
So yeah, Sparkplug's left there. He doesn't care as long as they all leave and he has special time to spend with his wrench.
That's right. Oh God,
me and you.
just him sitting with oiling the wrench.
On the wrench, yeah.
I like the idea that his nickname for his penis is my favorite wrench.
My favorite wrench.
I like the idea of when you think he's talking about his penis when he says his favorite wrench, but it's just his
It's
favorite
just his
wrench.
wrench. You see just a shot of him like going like, from like the
Oh, yeah.
stomach
Like,
down, but
oh,
you
no,
can't
what's
see his
happening?
hand.
He just
And
uses
yeah,
his wrench.
his shoulders are
love
moving.
my
You're
wrench.
like, what is happening? And then it pans down, and he's literally polishing a wrench.
That wouldn't surprise me, given last episode Friedman's weird horniness and the way he wrote the
There's
script.
a scene, or they're cut to a scene where like he's on top of a woman like gyrating around, and they cut it, and like they're just both like
Polishing a
polishing the wrench.
They're both wrenching,
Yeah. It's like
wrenching around. Wrenching around is the new is the new
That's the
TV
spinoff.
show.
That's
with
the Sparkplug spinoff.
we should sell Sparkplug brand favorite wrenches.
Did you not see that post I made?
Well, I saw that,
Okay.
but it was branded that way. Like
Yeah, I even took the time to Photoshop Sparkplug onto the wrench. Sparkplug
But
wrenches.
you didn't do it under the context of we could sell it. If you can get your 3D printer to work, then maybe you could make little my favorite wrenches.
little wrenches.
That's a
find
good-
in a wrench.
Yeah, write that down for throwing away later.
Write down be better.
And I'll write down pay more attention.
So Sparkplug is left behind to guard the base. Oh my gosh, it just hit me. So we talk about in our TFCon presentation that like where is Sparkplug? Why isn't he watching Daniel instead of Hot Rod or
Yep.
Transformer? Like, or just where is he in general? Maybe Spike doesn't let Daniel hang out with Sparkplug because Sparkplug was such a bad father. What kind of grandfather is he going to be? He's going to let Daniel do whatever.
That's dark, man. Jeez.
Exerts
Aw,
no
jeez.
parental control. All right, well,
Wow.
I'm just raise your hand in here if you didn't have a father.
how come only one of our hands is up?
Maybe fathers are dickheads.
Let's cut to Laserbeak, who I guess
Who has a new head thing.
was spying on the Autobots. Where was he? Or is he intercepting the same transmission that the Autobots were intercepting?
How did he get away from the Autobots after the quicksand?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
he should
forgot to
still be in
mention. I
Jazz's-
forgot that in my notes.
the
I had that.
previous
What the
episode.
shit happened to Laserbeak? He was still in Jazz.
So maybe Jazz took a nap. Laserbeak ejected himself out of Jazz's dick hole or wherever the radio system is,
I think it's in the console. I think it's in the car.
which transforms into his
Is
dick
it
hole.
everything, like no matter what, like everything when you transforms,
No, it would be in his chest.
flies out of their dick hole.
Because it would, like, if his chest is his chassis, and, like, his flips up, and then the cassette's
Still.
right there.
You don't know how he transforms.
I don't.
Laserbeak got away.
And now he's spying on the Autobots or
Again.
intercepting, because I don't know actually that call from Bali or Bali or Bali.
Bali.
How's it-
Bali.
Well, he calls
That's my
it-
favorite Pixar movie.
in the opening. What's
Victor
his name?
Crowley?
Victor Crowley calls it Bali.
Mm.
No, he goes Bali.
Oof.
Bali.
That's my favorite chain of video arcades.
Bali. Yeah, I loved it.
The
I'm just saying that's what.
was Laserbeak spying on the Autobots so he knows what they're up to, or did? Because I don't think that they did a call, even though I said it, and I don't think they maybe made a call directly
To Autobots.
I think they just put out a random transmission that Autobots picked up on.
This is just the Bali emergency.
right
alarm
and
system.
Laserbeak picked up on it as well, and Laserbeak is like, I guess I should tell
think
Megatron
that's probably
that.
right.
So that's
it
what he
seems
does.
like Teletran 1 just monitors all.
Sure, communication on Earth.
Yes.
hmm And they just luckily they just happen to be dialed into that frequency that would allow them to know what's going on Bali.
Breaker.
Laserbeak, who, as you guys alluded to, new contraption in his head, receives the message. He goes, he tells the Decepticons what's going on. So now they know about the Insecticons, which pleases Megatron to
We're back on the Nemesis underwater.
Megatron assembles a crew, and he's like, "We're gonna go intercept these these Insecticons," and they got their tower working again.
Yep.
Of
They
course
fixed
did.
it.
They're Decepticons.
Right to
They're
business.
They're incredibly resourceful.
Seconds later,
They should just rule the planet.
give them a little space to breathe, and they will. They land in Bali.
Bali. Bali.
Bali.
Bali.
Bela.
Baileys.
Beetle Bali.
Man, that guy should have
Also,
been kicked out of the
Bombshell.
army a long time ago.
That's Bombshell's nickname amongst the group. Beetle Bali.
Beetle Bali.
Very good.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm. Decepticons, they land in the tropical nation of Bali. They immediately put Ravage on the task of tracking them, but you would need him to smell something that had their scent to begin with, right?
I don't know how these robot cats work. I
And
just
also,
know.
cats aren't known for being trackers in that
Nope.
way. On command.
I also just the fact he says Megatron says eject the Ravage cassette, which is a very strange.
Oh, that's
description.
not where he says that.
Oh, it's not. That's
No,
later. Oh,
that's
okay.
later, but that's
Damn it.
okay. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Still, he's not really a cat.
He is he's a
Well,
robot.
He's a robot.
That's right.
So
They're not
who
the
knows
things
what
they're pretending to
so
be.
They just let
But
him
is he
do that.
pretending to be a cat or pretending to be an audio cassette, Ryan?
Why can't he talk like
It is
Does
true.
he
Well,
choose to just meow meow?
in the script, actually, Ron Friedman takes out every time that Ravage they suggest Ravage talks. So
Hey, he's keeping that
really?
consistency.
Yeah.
Far out.
So did Ravage talk in this?
yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing what he said.
Basically it's not that it's sort of like earlier. I think it was in the pilot where Ravage is speaking about what he sees. It's like that, but Ron Friedman changes it to it being a recording of somebody else. So it's still saying the same thing, but it's changing it to somebody else's voice.
Got it. Okay. Well, they uncover.
He found some shit.
Yeah, they found
goes-
some shit.
He goes, "Come over here. Look at this.
See this Insecticon hideout.
I found something."
And in that hideout, they pull aside some brush, by the way, and it reveals a Decepticon logo. And so the nature of the Insecticon's little home here is that it's explained to us that it is like an escape module or escape pod from the ship, and it crashed on Earth. Presumably millions of years ago when
But
the
it's not-
Transformers
Was it
crashed
an
on Earth.
escape pod from the ship?
Exactly.
From the ship when they all crashed, or is it from a different encounter similar to?
I believe he's saying it's from when they all.
No,
Ryan,
I
go
don't
ahead.
think so.
Because it would make sense that it did not, because you would think that they would be like, "Oh yeah, here's the escape."
Hey, those fucking guys we had.
We remember the Insecticons, but
Yeah.
no, they don't seem to have any recollection of this
You're right.
happening.
That is a bit of a plot hole.
This is what Megatron literally says. He says, "That's a Decepticon escape module. It was launched before our ship crashed here on Earth 4 million years ago," which implies it was not launched from their ship.
But no, I think that implies it was.
It might,
why
but
would
then
they even
later
talk about
Shrapnel
it?
says, "I don't know who you are."
No, I get that. That's weird.
So here's the thing. Let's say it was an escape module from a different ship, Decepticon ship. Where's that Decepticon ship?
No, that's true.
And have they been awake for 4 million years?
Yeah, I would think that they have been.
And we're just now getting news reports about it? Like, I
Sure.
guess because it's in Bali, maybe it's an isolated area.
Maybe they just got like radio communication.
Yeah, it's Bali. It's Bali. Who know? I mean, they were. Yeah.
And also, Thundercracker is surprised. Like, he's surprised at what this is. So,
Well, here's all I can say about it is
All right.
that it could be. I know they're robots, and presumably their memory is hard drive based. But maybe everybody. It's been 4 million years. A lot of
They're senile?
chaotic activity. Not senile, but there's a lot of activity has transpired between the time, particularly
They
for
need
the
to be
Insecticons.
defragmented?
Perhaps, yeah. Like maybe it's harder to find those files. Especially, I would say more so. I find it more of a good excuse for the Insecticons than these guys because these guys are still relatively fresh. They were just offline, then got turned back on.
That's a good-
Insecticons have been around for a while. And they've they've also probably they've evolved in a different direction than the rest of the Decepticons.
I'll have
And
to
they're-
say this about the Insecticons then. Man, they have really not taken advantage of their time on Earth.
they're just cool with eating. Their Decepticons are Dachshunds of Transformers. They just want to eat. That's all they want.
But it is interesting. It speaks to the adaptability of Transformers because the Insecticons, presuming they've been online this whole time, they didn't have if they've been online this whole time, they didn't have the ability to convert this fossil fuel based energy or other forms of energy into energy they could process. So they had to figure out how to
That's
transform
why
organic
they-
material into
That's
energy.
why they can eat and make energy. Great point. That whenever they were brought back online by, I guess their what they say here,
Themselves.
their own internal
Does their
processors.
ability to transform into insects evolve over time?
No, I think they developed insects whenever they came back online. It says something like their
do
internal components made them into insects, as that was what was around. In the same way that Teletran 1 turned them into like jets and a gun and a
So
truck.
there's also an internal capability for Transformers to turn.
As we saw
Yeah.
in the Michael Bay movies.
That is so that is a bit of a plot hole because yes, the Insecticons somehow have the ability to shift their alt mode independently, where it felt like the rest of the Transformers had to rely on Teletran 1 to do that. So are they big bugs because big bugs are what existed when they came online?
I mean, not
and then
that-
we've had that conversation about
If
big
you
bugs.
were going to transform into a bug, would you transform into a little bug or a big bug? I'd be a big bug.
I'm a bad bug.
A big bug.
Caleb, you are a big bug.
A big bug.
Why are we all talking like this?
Because we're big bugs.
Big bugs, motherfucker.
I'm a big man. I need a big breakfast.
Okay. This is good stuff. So here's the summary of everything we just said. These bugs are Decepticons adapted to life on ancient Earth.
Yeah, the big bugs need a big breakfast. I'm a big bug. I need a big breakfast.
Hey, give me some flapjacks.
I wish
Tall
that's-
stack.
I wish that's what they would say. But it'd be like this, though. It'd be like, I'm a big bug. I need a big breakfast. Big. Yeah. Whoa.
That really hurt my
You
throat.
guys knew where I was going.
Yep.
So Ryan
I think I'm dying.
Ryan just regurgitated.
Oh, heavens to Betsy.
As many insects have to do to then
Like the fly.
reconsume their meal.
That's right. Good job, Ryan. Way to be biologically accurate.
The bionic bugs, they transform
Big
and
bugs.
they find the big bionic bugs find the farm.
Yep. Which
mentioned
was
previously.
real close.
Yeah.
And they attack it. They drive off the field hands and just start munching down on Mother Earth's magnificent muff.
Whoa.
Oh, God. They're
They just slide right into
They're going
it, too.
down on Gaia.
They're Look at them munch through that. They're munching through that whole field.
I wonder, just from an energy efficiency standpoint, if eating organic material and converting it to energy is like what your inputs to output is on that versus, robbing an oil refinery.
I'm sure it's way worse because
Their diets, though, are really good. It's
oh,
organic.
man, they got fiber.
I know,
going
but
on.
like grass and grain and that kind of, not grain specifically, but grass is very energy inefficient. That's why cows have to eat so much of it.
So if they would have adapted properly, they should have turned into dinosaurs and eaten protein.
It's true. They should be eating people. That would have been a much better episode.
They've had 4 million years to figure that shit out, and they haven't done it.
So there are also dum-dums.
They wouldn't be they wouldn't be dinosaurs though, because dinosaurs didn't exist 4 million years ago. So they'd be like
Yeah. Dinosaurs existed way before that.
Okay.
like saber-toothed cats.
But there were
That's a cool
still
Transformer idea.
presumably carnivorous creatures that they should have adapted
Yeah,
to
like a saber-toothed cat.
for the best energy
Giant sloth.
yield.
Yeah.
Giant sloth. Was that
Those shouldn't have been
That's real.
carnivorous creatures.
Are sloths
No.
carnivorous?
No.
Oh.
I like giant sloths.
I don't.
I just like all of our wordplay. They shouldn't be big bugs. They should be carnivorous creatures.
Okay. Where the fuck are we? Okay.
We're going back to the Autobots
Yeah. Prime, the boys.
in this gulch.
Why are they driving through a gulch?
I know.
They're
Morons.
always doing that. Another great question. Oh, hang on. Hang
Oh,
on. I
I've
want you guys to listen to Optimus Prime here.
Anything. Hit the brakes!
So they're driving through the
Prime
gulch.
says that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, he goes, "Be ready for anything," and then he goes,
Hit the brakes!
It's the
sound-
most panic I've ever heard him say.
He's very emotive in this episode. And then
and it's nothing really to be worried about. There's just some humans. Now, another
Oh,
question
God.
about gulches. Why are humans having their nice little cultural festival in the gulch here?
Yeah, they're just there's a bunch of people carrying shit like looks like a Christmas tree and some other things
Oh, no,
carrying.
those are. I know what those are.
Oh, you
actually.
do?
Explain.
I don't.
So those are like bells and like.
Oh.
That's an actual Bali type of like festive.
Bell.
So yeah, these
Yeah.
people are just wandering through a gulch, and that's their festival.
You
I
mean you
guess
don't know about the Balian Gulch Festival?
every summer.
It's a seasonal thing. Yeah, it's the harvest season.
Yeah, they all get in a gulch.
Just ring them bells.
And so there's a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, and actually a new twist to what you're getting ready to talk about just hit me. Okay, to summarize, the Autobots decide to take a different path because of the humans, and there's lots of bad things about the path that we take that we'll get into. But item number one, you don't have to take a different path.
Exactly.
I'm 100% sure those humans will move out of your way.
Not only that, even if they don't move out of your way in vehicle mode, just transform and walk around them.
Yeah. But instead, I think Sideswipe is the mastermind of
Sideswipe's brilliant.
of this grand scheme. He says to follow him, and he's going to take a quote-unquote shortcut, and they go down even further down a different gully, and his idea is they're going to tunnel underground to get where they need to go.
Well, what he says is, if we can't go through those villagers, we can go under them.
Yeah. He somehow finds a little crevasse, but
Just get out of the fucking gulch.
I know.
yeah,
I'm irritated.
they're gonna spend a lot of time of this episode drilling through rock unnecessarily.
Yeah, it takes them out for a long time. Also, we know Sideswipe and fucking Sunstreaker can fly.
yeah. 100%. The amount of energy it would take to just climb over these mountains is much less.
I think Windcharger can fly anyway.
Yeah, well, or Jetfire can just swing around, and
Yes.
pick all those motherfuckers up.
It's real bad writing.
So, back to the field. A farmhand abandons his thresher here because the Insecticons have shown up on the scene, but he just keeps his thresher
I
going.
like what he says. I like what he says right here. Like, back it up a little bit and play the audio of what the farmer
that's
says.
good.
Monsters? What are they talking about? we should have sprayed the crops.
I knew we should have sprayed the crops.
There's no spray to prevent this.
That's true. You're right. I thought it was funny. Like,
Yeah, and
he's like,
Kickback
"I knew
just
we-
explodes the thing.
I knew we should have sprayed the crops.
Yeah, that's he has to obviously know that these aren't conventional insects.
Sure. That's a testament to, like, you know what? If you try to like raise crops like without any kind of pesticides, you run certain risks, and
That's
you're just
true.
gonna have to deal with that.
Listen, I know all about it.
Yeah,
you do.
He should have sprayed the crops for the conventional insects.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, these bugs notwithstanding.
I mean, we're just not even that this is a point of matter, but like, how did the Autobots get to Bali?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
great question.
Oh God, they can't even get. They're in this gulch. God only knows how they managed to get there.
Maybe they're hydrofoils
they-
that Wheeljack
they
made
surfed.
Yeah, but still, they got there in
right after
seconds.
the Decepticons, who are jet planes.
Speaking of, Jetfire arrives at this point, and he kind of weirdly vomits up the crew.
They always eject from him in a weird way.
Oh, in a later episode, there's definitely a GIF-worthy moment where they come out of his dick.
Oh.
But for now, he just shoots him out of his chest, and the battle is on.
Skyfire says that he actually makes a good estimation. He says we got him outgunned and outnumbered, referring to the Insecticons, which is actually true for once. Mm-hmm. But wait for it.
And the attack that was released on Brawn did really nothing. It kind of just more or less bounced off of him. There was sort of a fireball flame that was shot at him. But yeah, so this is the point where something weird happens. One of their adaptations, no doubt. Bombshell fires a missile from his forehead, and that missile blows the Thresher to all kinds of scrap here, and then Shrapnel steps up, and he releases what he calls electronic clone beams to turn all those exploded Thresher parts into all new Insecticons. Dozens of these things.
It's their their cloning ability, which we'll see several times.
So maybe it's like more like with the cloning aspect here that like they're making a really bad stretch of like insects. They reproduce really quickly
And in
They
weird, creepy
swarm.
ways.
They're everywhere, and someone's
Yeah.
like, maybe this is something that like insects do.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. I agree. 100%.
Right.
So these Decepticon duplicates attack Skyfire and the crew and quickly overwhelm them, which forces us to have to take a commercial break. Anything to say about Jetfire's spread legs there?
I love it.
It's great.
Ryan,
I had kickback and shrapnel. I don't think I may have a bombshell. I'm not sure.
I had one Insecticon, but it wasn't an Insecticon that was ever on the show.
Oh, was it one
Are
of
you
those?
familiar with the deluxe Insecticons?
I've seen them.
I don't know why they weren't on the show. There was one of those like Skyfire, Skylynx, Omega Supreme situations where it was a different company that Hasbro licensed the designs and sold them in the country as Transformers, but for whatever reason they didn't make it to the show. The only one whose name I do remember was called Chop Shop.
What was it?
He turned into a very shrapnel-like.
Oh.
It was like a brown version of shrapnel, but designed differently and better. They were actually better, cooler-looking designs with more intricate transformations than the classic, well-known Insecticons. But okay, hey, we're back from commercial. The Insecticons are giving chase while Jetfire ponders the locales of the rest of their Autobot friends. And in my opinion, they should be waiting forever because there's no way you can pile drive through a mile of fucking rock in the amount of time it would take you to climb
Yeah,
over
we
it.
can hear it sideswipe. We're at like what time mark is that?
8:34.
Where sideswipe is still pile driving his way through this at like maybe a meter a minute, getting through this mountain.
Yeah. I think you probably have it in script deviations. I did see a thing where it felt as though the animators forgot exactly what his pile driver special ability was? Is that? Do you have that in script deviations?
I don't think I do, but yeah,
Well, you
they're
see-
different every time.
You see, like, I think 3 different mechanisms that he has out of his hands, the ending in drills, and he never had those. I mean, that's a totally new thing. but-
I feel like, though, even with that being said, he's still using a consistent ability, and we kind of,
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
true.
at this point, are getting consistent abilities.
It's true. I can definitely agree to that. That yeah, sideswipe is your bluntly knock through.
And we're about to
ground
see
guy.
Wind Charger with some magnetic abilities, and then Ironhide with his like liquid nitrogen.
And Bumblebee's a pussy.
Yeah, Bumblebee sucks.
But they shouldn't be getting there in any time. But I do also like how everybody in the Autobot crew is by this point kind of against Sideswipe's plan, and
It should be.
they're starting to give him a little shit, and Sideswipe is like, "No, guys, just give him."
But shame on them for
keep
being
it going."
morons to
I
follow
mean,
along.
yeah.
I know, it's true. Back to the Insecticons. Shrapnel. The Autobots are hiding in this cornfield, which Skyfire is like 40 feet tall.
He's on his belly.
It doesn't show that, but so Shrapnel releases a weapon that fires these sharpened shards that it's hard to know.
Shrapnel, if
Yeah,
you
I
will.
think it would
Yeah.
be called shrapnel.
Yeah, very good.
It's on brand.
I don't understand if the idea behind this was that it was supposed to just mow down the grass so that they could find the Autobots, or to actually injure the Autobots. And I guess it could be both.
Good two
Why
for
not?
one.
Why not? But
It should definitely kill Spike.
it's doing both. Wind Charger uses his.
Look how tall that corn is.
I know.
High as an elephant's eye.
Shrapnel, his ability is called a repulse field in this situation. That's what
You
he
mean
calls
Wind
it.
Charger?
Or Wind Charger calls it a repulse field.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
just
he uses.
a reverse. I mean,
Version
it's
of
still
his
a magnetic power. It's just
Right.
reversed.
Right. Which it's basically serves as a shield. All of the shrapnel
There's a lot of
bounces off
shields
them.
in this one.
About that time, Megatron and the Decepticons show up on the scene.
Yo, yo,
here.
yo.
Everybody kind of forgets about the Autobots for a second. Jetfire tries to transform. It's pretty awkward. Now
Silly.
his little cockpit just kind of moves up a couple wags.
Jitters. A couple wags.
It's like just kind of wagging a little bit in his face. He can't transform, but again, going back to I guess a Friedman trope, Braun mentions the bright side is that they didn't bring that sawed-off nerd Rumble along. So the Decepticons are here. Oh my gosh, things are bad. But at least they didn't bring that sawed-off nerd Rumble.
I didn't even catch that, but you're right. I'm sure that was a Friedman edition.
From kickback shorted my transform circuits.
Well, let's look at the bright side. At least they didn't bring that sawed-off nerd Rumble along.
What a weird... I don't understand it. Well, first of all, why are you name-dropping Rumble at this point? It makes... Like, are they supposed to have some history we don't know
I don't
about?
know that they have specifically a beef or even have met.
And also, it's not like he's the most imposing of Decepticons.
It's not really like he's a nerd.
And also, he's not a nerd. I would argue that, if anything, Rumble is a jock because... He just goes around, like, remember how he treats the humans? And, like, he's like a bully.
Yeah.
Not that all
it's
jocks
true.
are bullies.
He's not
I
a-
would say he's not a jock, he's a bully.
He's not a nerd.
He had a bad upbringing, and he has low self-esteem, and he pushes people around.
His dad was a working class alcoholic, probably a factory guy.
How many people can we insult at
He
once?
was probably he was one of. I'm sure Rumble was like one of like 8 kids.
It makes no sense. And also, spoilers, Rumble is here. We're going to see him in a little bit.
It is, well, it's also a digression of now we're using the term nerd. As the last episode, the golden term was geek. Mm-hmm. So we're switching it
What
up.
is the obsession with nerds and geeks?
Friedman, I don't know why he's.
I mean, in the 80s, it was like nerd was bad. Like Revenge of the Nerds.
But the nerds got revenge.
Yeah, there's date rape in that.
Did a nerd or a bully?
Nerd.
Oh, no.
No, what?
He had sex with a woman under false pretenses. She thought he was her boyfriend. And it was in like the...
Were they on drugs or drunk?
Nope. It was...
Then how did he trick her?
He was wearing a Darth Vader mask.
Yeah, that's
And it was in a
rape.
carnival, I believe. In like the lunar room.
Full penetration?
Oh, full penetration.
Damn.
Man, Ryan, why'd you gotta ruin all this stuff?
I know, it's terrible.
So, God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. All of my favorite movies have problems.
Megatron makes his introduction to the Insecticons
Mm-hmm.
and kind of lets them know, we're on the same team. And
This is where Shrapnel says he doesn't know him, but he
Yeah.
feels a kinship of some kind.
Right. For whatever reason, refer to our conversation from 20 minutes ago.
I don't know. They all have Decepticon logos on.
That's a good start.
yeah, probably.
Megatron exclaims that it would be his pleasure to reduce these Autobots into piles of animated scrap.
Animated?
They say that.
Do they? Oh.
So the scrap would still be like
Alive.
alive. Oh, there they go. They're gonna do it.
Decepticon science generated you just as it generated us.
In that case, it's my honor to ask you to help us destroy these animated scrap piles.
I think what they're just saying that they are scrap piles that are moving, so therefore they are animated
They're referring to how they
scrap.
cut
It's also weird in this drawing. We've paused here at what?
We'll call it 947.
947, where we see down Megatron's barrel, which is rifled for some reason.
Rifled.
I wouldn't say it's rifled. It's like a shine. If it was rifled,
I
it'd be
guess
spiraled.
I guess you're right. It would be spiraled. I was just looking down and there are lines where in a rifle it's spiraled down the barrel so that the bullet
If you
spins.
don't put those lines in there, though, it takes away from the perspective. Like it's helping the illustration.
Okay. Yeah,
A
would
spiral
change it,
would
but-
help the illustration as well, I think, in the same manner. But
But it would
his
make no
doesn't
sense.
need to be spiraled because he's not firing
It's a
those kinds of
fusion
projectiles.
cannon.
He's tapping into a black hole.
I'm focusing on a lot of weird details.
True. So these Decepticons are going to attack, but we're going to go back to the Autobots who
Have been under this for 1,000 hours.
and have made about 10 feet of progress. Optimus Prime is like,
Optimus Prime is like, stand aside, kid.
he's fuck all this.
Yes.
He transforms and plows through the remaining rock with ease, and everybody follows after him. We have some nice animated background effects, and Autobots are on the loose, and they arrive just in time to keep the Decepticons from mowing down Jetfire and company. And for like 20 seconds, we've got some battle.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. Now tell me.
Blink.
Sideswipe gets
buddy.
thrown a good distance. He was a little impetuous in his attack right into
The
Megatron's
Lambo
arms
twins
here.
both jumped into it. Yep.
Insecticons, get to the air! An oil refinery awaits our play.
Of course, we have to have a goddamn refinery.
Yeah.
Megatron definitely has a certain kind of type of energy that he likes to go after.
Yeah. Well, it's what he knows.
That's what he knows.
I mean,
Fossil fuels.
I don't think he's going to start. I mean, they're in a field. I don't think he's going to
gonna
start
start
baking cornbread.
Start punching it up like the Insecticons.
Yeah. Insecticons.
Insecticons.
The Decepticons, they, at this point, now that they're confronted with all these Autobots, they decide they don't want to fight. They just know of this random oil field that's just down the street, and they'd rather
And they
go
bump out.
deal with that. We do a quick flip to the Autobots' point of view. Wheeljack, he fixes Skyfire, and now it's time for the Autobots to make chase. Hey, Skyfire transforms and leaves. I don't know why he didn't just
Skyfire, we can't help
take
you
the
on
Autobots with
ground,
him again.
So be careful.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime just makes a very interesting call. He
He's
says,
like, we can't help your ass.
he says, you're in the sky. Remember, we can't fly, so be careful. In 5 seconds, we're going to see that he's going to get attacked by the Insecticons who are left behind. Then Wheeljack transforms and flies.
Straight up flies.
and then goes in to help him. So they can help him.
Which is like, it's an interesting point of like, whenever Wheeljack in SOS Dinobots was being carried by the Dinobots, like, I guess he was kind of helping because he could fly too, like whenever they were flying to the strike zone.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
Yep. It's almost like it's completely inconsistent. I will have some notes when season 2 starts about a memo that goes through the script writing of like, stop making Autobots fly.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, the Insecticons, they latch on to Skyfire's wing here, and they're just trying to kind of throw him off,
Bring him
take him
down.
down. And the Autobots recognize Spike specifically in Bumblebee with the pink seats. I'm glad that's consistent.
I love it.
They come to a stop. Wheeljack, he's just jumps into the sky, and that's where he fires his multiple rockets. Blasts the Insecticons off of Skyfire. Hey, everything's cool except Kickback is still active. Shows up, transforms, that's kind of been his signature move. He transforms
he's done
and
it 3
kicks shit.
times. And Kickback kicks Wheeljack out of the sky. He falls down. Prime is like, "Hey, I'll catch you, buddy." On my fucking semi-trailer, which is what it's again like. If you're caught by anything but the ground, it doesn't hurt you at all.
And there's 2 versions of that.
There
in
are.
this episode.
Yes.
That's version 1 that we just see here. So we're going to go to the oil refinery. The Decepticons, they run off the Roughnecks and they just get to cracking open those pipes, boy.
I know. And Soundwave is making those energon cubes.
In this episode, what's unique is that instead of having to just tap into the sort of energy conversion mechanisms, they just rip a pipe open and jam it into an energon
They
cube.
just pour oil into empty energon cubes.
And I guess by this point, maybe they've developed energon cube technology that the cube itself converts the oil into whatever kind of energy.
Sure, why not?
I love that
Sure,
theory.
why not? Sure.
Love it.
They just keep. Well, I mean, they're it's Decepticon science.
It's true. Decepticon science.
So the plan here is to juice up and then jam out of here
Juice up, jam out.
on the Autobots' faces.
That's right.
I think he says that.
I feel like they're actually. I feel like they're actually putting some money into the show now because again, like I think this animation is good. Like I feel like it's really
Especially-
taken an uptick.
Yeah, the character model animation again. In particular, I think they're settling on the models.
Might be it.
Is really what it is because
Except
we're
that-
seeing some animation here where Shrapnel takes control. So the Decepticons are all at the refinery, but they've left the Insecticons behind again to pester the Autobots. And Shrapnel takes control of the Lambros, and that animation's not very good.
Yeah.
They can't all be winners. I
mean,
get that.
speaking of special powers, you can control Autobots.
Yeah, and is he
That's a
taking
good
over
one.
their minds, or is it just like a man on an
No,
ether binge?
No, it's just their
they're aware,
bodies.
they're aware that they're out of control. They just can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So he flips the Lambros to be playing a head-on game of chicken with the Autobots
They're
who
driving
get
through
out of the
another
way.
Ditch.
Yes.
And here Trailbreaker transforms, and we forget that he's got some cool abilities. Mm-hmm. He steps in. He uses his force field power to break the control that the Insecticons have, or specifically
Yep.
Shrapnel.
Shrapnel.
And then, I don't think it's not PC to say this, Prime dwarf tosses Brawn into Shrapnel.
I have a lot about this. Optimus, like fucking Prime and Brawn perform a classic X-Men fastball special. Do you guys know what a fastball special is?
I don't.
It is very big in the X-Men. There are variations, but traditionally it's when Colossus would throw Wolverine. Like, basically, I think it was first shown in Uncanny X-Men number 100 in 1963. It's basically when a big, strong guy on the team throws a small, tough guy at an enemy. Traditionally, it's always been Wolverine. Beast throws Logan. Storm throws Logan with her like wind powers.
Sounds like they're just trying to get out. Like, here, let's throw Wolverine at the problem.
Yeah, basically they're like, you fix it.
Right.
Maybe if we ever
I'll
get a
help.
chance to talk to Ron Friedman again, that'd be a great question. Like, how inspired by because I'm sure he had to have been a Stan Lee fan
there's
of
no
comics
there's no
of
doubt
those times, right?
he's-
In fact, he was friends with Stan Lee.
He was friends
There's a
with
picture
him.
with him in
yeah,
the book.
that's right. So that kind of thing had to have influenced.
I would
the
imagine.
work here.
I mean, it's a very it's
maybe any
actually-
writer's
like
work.
She-Hulk throws Logan, casually mentioning how he has a firm little butt there.
Huh?
Rogue throws Deadpool. That's a variation on it, calling it a screwball special. Classically, Ant-Man and Hawkeye do a version where Ant-Man rides Hawkeye's arrow, and then Spider-Man through X-23, who is Logan's daughter, is a clone of Logan.
We've all seen Logan.
Oh,
What
you do.
What kind
you
of
do
class?
I forgot. Oh my God.
What kind of
Yes, she
class
was in that
do
movie?
you think we are?
That's true. That's true. I just
X-Men,
really
X-Men First Class.
when I saw it, I really liked it. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It is a cool thing. And here we also see, for I guess the fourth time or the third time, Kickback
I think the third.
transforms into his grasshopper mode and kicks Brawn back off of the shrapnel here. Enough distraction. It's time for the Insecticons to get that oil, son. And here's where we see the second interpretation of what Ryan was talking about earlier, in which Brawn falls thousands of feet from the sky, but right before he hits the earth, everything's cool because Skyfire swoops in. And he
It's
lands
like
on
in the
him.
Superman movies when he grabs somebody, like specifically, I think it was the Bryan Singer one, where he grabs somebody out of the air and saves her. But I'm like, she's liquid. If you saved her at that velocity,
Somehow he can take all of the impact out of it. All
Yes.
of
Maybe
the
that's what it
G-forces
is.
out of it.
Could be.
they, like the Enterprise, they have entropy reducers,
Right.
I like it. I mean, it's Superman.
inertial dampers. I'm sorry, that's inertial dampers is the term.
I like it. But we all did have that fantasy as a kid.
Of catching a woman and liquefying her.
You did, yes.
Liquefying is his word for facial.
I see.
It's a nice place for a pearl necklace.
The fantasy is, if I was on an airplane, it was crashing, I would just position myself to jump off at the last second.
This is
right.
this is related to the last thing you guys talked about with Ms. Quigley in physics, where I was trying to work out how
Quig.
Quigley down under.
Quigley down under.
It's so weird that you just brought this. We were just
I know.
talking about.
That's
her
what
an
I'm saying.
episode ago.
Like when my question at the time of being an idiot was like, why can't I just jump right before an elevator hits the ground and be okay? Not realizing that you jump, you reduce your acceleration downward, but you're still moving downward at a very fast pace.
You have to jump hard enough.
You'd have to, yes. You'd have to jump faster than 9.8 meters per second squared.
All right, the Autobots are going to arrive at the refinery. Oh, by the way, there's Rumble.
Oh yeah, he's here now.
Mm-hmm.
They brought that nerd.
What would Rumble be nerdy about? UFC?
No, he'd nerd out over like hi-fi equipment and stuff, like he's a cassette.
Yeah, pretty
High
good.
fidelity.
Yeah.
He'd be like an audio, like
Do you think like stereo or mono recordings?
it just depends on what you're talking about.
What the
And-
intention? What the intention of the artist was?
yeah.
Like if he's listening to Pet Sounds, he wants it in mono
Whatever was
as the
original.
Beach Boys
Mhm.
intended.
You hear all the pops and cracks
and shit.
Mhm.
Okay. The Insecticons land to get their meal and their meal is biting into the side of an oil tanker. So I guess they can eat both. I guess
We know they can
oil is organic, but
we know they can eat anything.
they can eat whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, they eat.
Well, then why did they still keep eating wheat? Because I'm sure
Why
that
is-
the oil energy conversion is more efficient than the.
I like how Megatron's hanging out like
Casually.
a cool guy up against the wall.
He's got his fusion cannon off, leaning against him. He's leaning back against the wall, his arms crossed, and he's like, "Hey, Insecticons, go eat that oil tanker."
He looks like a high school dropout selling cigarettes. to the
flipping a
kids.
coin.
He's flipping. Oh, he beat me to it.
Oh, damn it.
Wow.
All right, and that is basically the gift that he's giving the Insecticons, I guess, to entice them to continue to enjoy the Decepticon brotherhood. I don't know, but he's given them full reign over this oil tanker, and they are
Put in my
happy
notes, Megatron is super bugle boy jeans casually hanging out against the wall. This is also a weird point where they're just guzzling from this thing and they shoot fireballs, which I will say in the script happens like 4 times. It's kind of a thing they do when they consume energy, like they shoot flames, which
Well, they did that at the beginning of the episode after they ate some of the
guess it's
grain
true.
from the boats.
I'm like,
he
what?
shot some energy off.
what is that?
I
Like
d-
a refinery where you burn off the
Yeah,
The
great
excess?
question.
I think he's just showing off. It's like gluttony. Like,
Well, that's what I thought, and I've thought that as well. When I originally watched this, I didn't connect it to the beginning of the episode where they were like, "Fire off some energy," or so you can make some energy. They said, and it also is a weird commentary because jumping ahead later, they're guzzling into this tanker, and oil is just dripping all over into the ocean, which is going to be a plot point later
yeah.
on. And later on, as one of them wants to attack the Autobots, one of the Insecticons warns the other one, hey, don't do that. You're going to set all this shit on fire, which doesn't matter at all right now when they're right next to the tanker and shooting fire out of their heads. It's Bombshell specifically that I think did it in both instances, fired off energy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
After they were consuming.
In the script,
whatever.
the first time it was kickback.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Is it?
I say interesting a lot when I don't have
mean
anything
that,
or when I just don't have anything to say. Yeah, it is the back to casual Megatron at 1558. He's just standing against the wall. He's just like, I'm taking my fusion cannon off.
I'm on a break.
I like casual Megatron.
Oh God, we need to put him in sweatpants.
He got some big old
Casual
boxing
Megatron.
gloves there.
Well, that wouldn't be sweatpants. He'd be like wearing some khakis. I like the Bugle Boy reference.
Okay, good.
You don't think he'd just be wearing some really stylish Sean John track
He'd
pants?
be wearing like jorts and
No way, Megatron is a jorts
also
guy.
he's got like a mustache, and he's got and against the wall with him is like his it's not a 10-speed, a fixed wheel. Like a fixed
God.
So now he's a hipster?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're mashing up all kinds of things.
Or just just maybe a suit jacket. That's it.
With elbow pads?
No, with like a t-shirt underneath it.
Oh, okay.
And the sleeves pushed up, Miami Vice style.
Okay. You're dumb. I don't know why that's so funny.
It's just like you just like cancel all what you said.
The Autobot interlopers arrive. Jetfire shows up on the scene. He knocks the Insecticons off the tanker, and that's where Shrapnel then tries to attack Skyfire with the electric energy from his mandibles. I don't know what you call those things on insects. And that's where he gets yelled at for doing so with all this loose oil around. Again, didn't matter in the context of them eating and expectorating fire earlier. Then the rest of the Autobots arrive, and this is the part that I...
Soundwave! More interlopers! Soundwave! Activate the Ravage cassette!
Yeah, it's weird. Weird.
Yeah, what?
Like, why are you
He
calling
doesn't
him
need
that?
to say that at all.
It's like activate the Caleb person. And then he says nothing.
Activating the Ravage cassette acts as if it's as if Ravage doesn't have isn't sentient.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing as like the last episode where it seems like Laserbeak doesn't have complete control over his body.
Right. And then also, why say it just like that? Just say eject Ravage or bring Ravage into battle. And also, if a battle's about to happen, why wouldn't Soundwave just eject Ravage for more people anyway? Moving on.
Where's Frenzy? That's my question.
You're right. Not hanging out with that nerd Rumble. The battle is on, motherfuckers. The Autobots get ambushed by the Insecticons, who will ultimately see them get driven into the oily ocean.
That's my fragrance name.
Yeah?
I've invented it. Oily Ocean.
Where are you selling it?
All the top spots you'd want.
Big box? Big box outlets?
And here we see, as addressed in last episode, the Autobots can tread water.
Mm-hmm. Although it doesn't, I mean,
They don't appear
they
to be
must
doing
have propellers at the bottom of their feet that
Yes.
are allowing them to
Maybe
do
they're
so.
just tall enough they're just standing in it.
Braun's
Could
not
be.
that tall.
Oh, touche. Thundercracker, I think this is a revisit of an ability he has.
Yes, he has
right?
incendiary powers.
Okay, so he's flame throwing. Although we did see another blue seeker on Cybertron with incendiary powers that was not Thundercracker. Are we confusing characters?
Well, Thundercracker uses it in the first time he uses it is in SOS Dinobots. He uses it against Slag.
That's right. You're right. The Autobots take shelter underneath the docks and upend Thundercracker.
Wheeljack
Nice little
Prime
surprise
and
attack.
Braun all slam their fists up in the dock, and it throws Thundercracker off of it, which is hilarious.
But to no avail,
Nope.
because the fire is spreading quickly in the ocean. They make a big deal about it. They don't want it to get to the tanker, but it does get to the tanker. And
Here we have
Ironhide shows up.
liquid nitrogen again.
Mhm. And I get. Does he put it all out? All done?
guess, yeah.
Everything's safe. Okay.
He did it.
All right. The battle rolls on, and the clouds roll in, and that creates some glee with the Insecticons here. Megatron doesn't quite understand why they're so happy, and he further doesn't understand why Bombshell would fire an explosion into the sky.
Enemies are on the ground.
Megatron's ignorant
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. It turns out somehow these crawlers have the ability to attract, absorb, and redirect lightning energy.
Which is a pretty awesome power.
It's pretty cool. It's also interesting. Again, we speak to what is the cohesive nature of the Insecticon unit, or the symbiotic nature of their unit. It takes Bombshell to set it up, but Shrapnel has to be the one that absorbs and channels it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. So he does that.
I specifically remember this episode as a kid, noting Shrapnel being able to channel lightning because it was so awesome. And then I started thinking about, maybe I just like power, because that's maybe why I like the Dinobots and the Insecticons, because they're just super strong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They are cool units. I'm pausing here because I thought that this was a great moment here. Shrapnel, he's going to say, "Taste the lightning."
Ride the snake.
Our enemy is on the ground.
I like Wheeljack's
not in the
reaction.
sky.
But our weapon is in the clouds, and Bombshell's explosion has brought it to us. Now. Taste the lightning, Autobot fool.
It tastes terrible.
Sorry, maybe I
I
built
don't
that
care
up.
for it.
Maybe I built that up too much, but I did.
It's no pork roll.
Lotta's delivery. It's not that great a line, but Lotta's delivery just made me chuckle.
You liked that?
Yeah. Well,
All right.
maybe I did. What you gonna do about it? The Insecticons are super powered right now, and Megatron is loving this shit. They're blasting everybody. Prime gets a nice little shot. I think we're gonna see a few more Autobots get it, but we've got Bumblebee and Spike, and Spike has a bit of a plan because he has taken junior high science classes.
Fake science.
And he asked Bumblebee to transform and charge the insects, and Bumblebee's like, what are you doing?
Can you go back and get that grab from Prime? Because Prime says, "Spike, Bumblebee, stay back. You'll be destroyed." And it's great.
Spike, Bumblebee, stay back. You'll be destroyed.
His performance is just over the top there. Anyway.
Don't do it!
But yeah, so Shrapnel zaps Bumblebee, who's because he has rubber tires.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Do you want to go ahead and just break that down for
It
us?
is true that being injured in a normal car struck by lightning is rare, but not because of tires. It's because the steel frame of a car acts as a Faraday cage and channels the lightning around the vehicle. Plastic portions of the vehicle also impede the flow of electricity. It can, however, fry the electronics, and leaving aside the fact that the Transformers are mimics and more advanced than the things that they mimic, 70s era cars would probably not survive.
So if you were in a 1970s Volkswagen Bug and you were struck by lightning, your car would stop working.
Yes. It's like an e-impulse.
But there's not really a lot of electronic components in a car like that. I mean, maybe your radio would stop working, but would your motor stop working? Consult the notes.
Maybe, you know what? You might be right. It might be that the more sophisticated a car is, the more apt it would be to stop working.
But your point, though, is still taken that it's not all about the rubber tires.
No, that
Which is
has
what I was remember
nothing
being
to do
told.
with it.
Which I remember that being told that as a kid.
I do too, and I think it's from the show.
But no, I think I want to say that is an elementary school trope. That
It's
you're-
like how if you walk with rubber soles, you can't be electrocuted. I remember that being a thing.
yeah, I mean, same logic
Yeah, it's not real.
in essence. But
The
is
electricity has to go somewhere.
Right. Well, and does the grounding, because they make a big deal. So what's going to happen on screen is that, okay, the Autobots all see what's happening here. And so most of them transform, and those that don't transform ride on top of those that do transform, like proverbial roller skates.
Yes.
And that protects them from all of the electric attacks that the Insecticons throw at them, and they're safe. So is it also about kind of like, does grounding have something to do with it? Except being grounded is dangerous when you're dealing with electricity.
Again,
right?
it has to go somewhere. Like the electricity can't just not. It has to go into the ground in some fashion.
Mm-hmm. But in that case, God, I'm just like so ignorant. In that case, would rubber tires actually make it more dangerous because you're preventing it from going somewhere?
It'd be harder for it to go. Yeah, I would think it would deal more damage. But I mean, I don't know that for sure.
All right. Well, I don't know how we could look stupider.
We'll work it out.
This is a pretty good sequence here.
Yep.
Megatron, the tanker. Apparently, Ironhide did not put out the tanker completely.
No, Megatron just shot it.
He
okay.
caught it on fire.
Oh, I
again.
didn't see. Okay, I missed that. Megatron fires at the tanker, and now it is ablaze. And his new strategy is to jump into the ocean and push the blazing tanker into the oil refinery to cause a massive explosion. And the Insecticons, they also try a new strategy of trying some mind control, or some of the same physical control games, not mind control games, that they did with the Lambros earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But Trailbreaker, we're going to see him step in again. He'll break that bond. Back to Megatron. Prime jumps into the ocean. He dunks the tanker to, I guess, put out the flame.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we'll see him do is lift it over his head, Atlas style, and chuck it at Megatron.
He throws a whole ass oil tanker at Megatron.
It doesn't look right. Like he should be able to do that.
No, his tech specs say he can lift 100 tons.
Oh, you got some.
I mean, and an oil tanker weighs magnitudes of levels more than that. It weighs about 100,000 tons. So I like it. I'm not mad at it. I think it's cool, but it's quite ridiculous, especially full of water.
100 tons seems like it shouldn't be that much for a Transformer.
I don't know. That's what the stronger Marvel characters like Spider-Man can press 100 tons. The Hulk more than that, but
he's a Transformer.
But you've got to be standing on some sort of surface that
True.
will prevent you from sinking into the ground.
Yeah, it's also true.
That's also true.
To be fair. The Insecticons realize that the battle is not going the way of the Decepticons. So without saying it, they more or less renounce their Decepticon membership and run over to a pile of Energon and try and gobble up as much as they can and then shove off.
Or you should say they bug out.
Oh, woof.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Thanks for capitalizing, Caleb. They bug off, and that enrages Megatron, and he commands the Decepticons to stop fucking with the Autobots. We got to go take care of these Insecticons.
All of the minor factions within the Decepticons are a problem. Like all the combiners, like the Constructicons, the Insecticons, they all are like, we're not necessarily into what you guys are doing.
Right. We got our own thing going.
Yeah.
Oh, Dinobots are the same way?
Dinobots, I guess, same, yeah. What Wheeljack says to Spike, yeah.
Let's just listen it. Let's just listen it.
They'll be back, but when they return,
They better watch out, because we'll be ready for them.
spoken like a true Autobot, Spike.
You really mean it?
Why, just say the word and I'll design a vehicle transform for you. Maybe a motorcycle? Now that would be something new.
Maybe we better wait until I'm old enough to drive.
You got yourself a deal.
Prophecy?
A couple of things. First of all, we know Spike now is at the oldest 15.
Right.
2, Spike is like, no, don't do anything for me, Wheeljack.
Even Spike recognizes that Wheeljack is a bit of a doof.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but also it kind of like maybe foretells the exosuit.
Yes.
You think?
Does
It doesn't
that's
turn
what-
into a motorcycle, though.
No, but it's an it was just an off.
So did Wheeljack design the exosuits?
Maybe.
Interesting. I like it. I do like how Spike indulges in some kind of impressive bravery talk. I didn't notice until we just watched it right now what made me laugh. He has that he just like his eyes went so big whenever Prime gave him the compliment.
yes.
But yeah, so that's it. That's the episode. The Decepticons chasing the Insecticons and the Autobots.
I will say this episode is devoid of Starscream, which makes one think: is he being tortured?
He needs a break for sure.
That's really rare because we almost never see an episode without Starscream.
Yeah.
He's still tied up in the dungeon
Oh God.
with all the.
In most episodes with Starscream, do they involve some kind of treachery? Because that's always
think they might.
That's always a subplot that exists. And maybe in some episodes they're just like, we can't have Starscream in here because we don't need that extra baggage.
Or just write it better.
Could be, yeah.
Like you don't have to have Starscream try to grab control every time.
It's true. He
There-
didn't in the Jetfire.
Yeah,
episode.
the Jetfire episodes.
That's about it.
Yeah, because that we even noted it. We made a point of it of like Starscream and Megatron seem to get along really well here. So
Well, as far as voice actors go, we basically covered everybody. I mean, when somebody new comes up, I'll give them their bio. But just for posterity, Bombshell, who I mistyped as Bobshell, was Michael Bell. Shrapnel is Hal Rail, who we previously covered as Snarl. And Clive Reville, this was his only Transformers role, but we covered him in more depth during our movie days. So those are the new...
go watch our YouTube videos.
Clive is really the only new player added to the cast at this point, but I forgot or found it interesting that Michael Bell does Bombshell, because that is actually a departure. Michael Bell does a lot of these kind of like
He does
boilerplate,
Prowl, right?
Yeah, he does a lot of, and Sideswipe. He does like kind of boilerplate heroic characters, and this is more of a stretch, at least in terms of the Transformers work. Yeah,
I like his stuff. He was also in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
that's right.
He played a dick. It's not a literal dick.
Like I was about to say, like a space dick.
Nope, just an asshole.
Oh, and what?
Why are all my references body parts?
That's what you know.
You go with the girl who you dance with the girl who brought you. What?
Oof,
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
The Insecticon abilities were an interesting thing that feels
Lots of
like it
them.
was just made up as everything moved on.
And I feel like in it's probably like 5 to 10 episodes from now, there's another Insecticon episode where I think Bombshell's Cerebro shells
Yeah,
come in play.
yeah.
We haven't.
So
seen
there's
that
even
yet.
another one that we got to hit. Yeah, I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Why weren't they in the show more, or the movie?
They were in the movie.
I know, but more. Like they were barely a footnote, tire note.
Honestly, they were as much of a footnote as any other Decepticon character outside of the ones that were introduced. Because did not an Insecticon kill Autobots on the ship when they were all firing at like
Yeah.
Ratchet and
Ironhide, Rusty Pants.
Okay. You know, I wonder what was going on.
In the real world.
A Plague of Insecticons. It aired on the 29th of December of 1984. In the American Top 40, Paul McCartney and I was going to say Janet Jackson. Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson's Say, Say, Say released in 1983, which I guess it just took longer for things to gain steam.
That happens. That's not uncommon for a song to get released.
It was probably on an album.
It was on a Paul
wasn't-
McCartney
it wasn't-
album.
It wasn't
Yeah,
like a top hit from the album. It was like a later single.
But sometimes sometimes hit songs and even albums can make it come can surge back to the charts after a year.
Oh, perfect example. I would walk 500 miles. That song was like, I want to say 5 years old before it became huge.
It was 'cause
Love
it was
that
in a
song.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Sometimes
movie-
that happens.
movies will do that.
The song Paper Planes by MIA, that album had been out a couple years, and then they used that song in Pineapple Express, and it was in all the ads, and then it was the biggest song ever.
So
For the listeners, I am just wide-eyed, not knowing
this
any of those
music?
references.
Is this music? Anyway, yeah, that's right. That happens.
Apparently, during the recording of the song in 1981, Michael stayed at Paul and Linda McCartney's place, and they all became friends.
Not for long.
Nope. Honestly, I wanted to put in more about this song, but because it's fine.
It's not a great song.
No, it isn't. But every time I started reading about it, my eyes crossed, and I was like, I don't care. And frankly, I am, like I said, this is related. I am shocked to reach number 1, and I'm sure it was only because it was Paul and Michael.
Oh, sure, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'd have to say of the Paul Michael collabos, "The Girl Is Mine" is the superior.
I love that
collabo.
song.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's a terrible song, but it's so corny that I love it.
I think that's on Thriller.
It is
that
on Thriller,
Yeah,
yes.
I had that tape,
Mhm.
and I listened to it endlessly. So,
Hey, Michael. Oh wait, I'm doing Michael
Whoa.
as Paul. No, that's I'm doing Paul as Michael. Yeah.
It's just business.
she said she'd never love another.
You gave me some sound business advice and I took it.
I bought all your music.
Hey, Michael. Michael, you didn't. I meant other people's music,
Yeah.
not mine.
When did we talk about? When did we talk about that? About like, did one of you guys, or was that maybe the Wikipedia where Paul? I read. Maybe that was the Wikipedia where Paul was like, Michael, your real money is buying music.
Yeah.
Michael
licenses.
bought all of the bought all of the Beatles music.
The legend is that Michael Jackson asked Paul McCartney for investment advice.
That's amazing.
Paul McCartney said music publishing, and Michael was like, "Okay." Fast forward.
I own all your shit.
It is weird. I'd have to reread the story. I used to know at one point because I am a Beatles maniac, and I've got the anthology DVDs and books upstairs, and I think they go into it, but I can't remember how it was that Paul McCartney wasn't in a position to get all of that music to begin with. Like, I know that, he was a man of financial means,
yeah.
But Michael Jackson at the time might have just been of more because he was so hot and popping. The
Or maybe
economics of
Paul
music
was
might have
just
been just like
not liquid at the time.
better for him. And Michael was at that point in his life, he'd been making music for at least as long. The Beatles only made music for 10 years, or they were popular for 10 years.
McCartney was still it was still early in Michael's career. That was 81.
In the scheme of things, yeah.
Michael had been
We're talking about the Jackson 5.
Michael-
the Jackson 5
I guess
stuff,
that's
too.
true.
The
Jackson
Jacksons
5.
have been making music since
And
the
he was
late
putting out solo albums in the mid to late 70s. Like, if Off the Wall
Don't
was
Stop Till You Get Enough.
70, was Off the Wall 78, 79? Shit, I don't know. Fuck.
60s. That happened.
It's still, whatever it is, it happened.
These are things you can read about.
But The Girl Is Mine is a great song. I'd
that
listen to
song.
that. I'll hit the skip button on Say Say.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not very good. Number 1 at the movies. I was going to say Hunker Down because this next movie is number 1 for 14 weeks.
Oh, Jesus.
But then I realized the new season starts in September of 85.
Oh,
so
good. We'll get to skip.
you want to guess what the movie that was?
What
End of it, 1984. December 1984. December 29th, 1984.
Let's take a couple stabs. It's not Temple.
I
of Doom.
wouldn't have got it.
It's not Temple of Doom.
is December relevant?
Nope. Die Hard was 88, I think.
That's where I was going.
Yeah. We have mentioned him in this recording episode, the star.
The star of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard Nimoy, Star Trek.
It ain't that.
Is it Stallone?
Nope. Comedian. It's a comedy.
Eddie Murphy trading.
You got the guy right.
Beverly
Okay.
Hills Cop.
Yep.
Ah.
Beverly Hills Cop, which is fucking insane.
That's been huge.
The opening weekend was 15 million, which crushed every opening number 1 weekend for the year, except for Star Trek: The Search for Spock, which was 16 million, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which was 32 million. Other than that, they were all single digits. The Beverly Hills Cop broke 1982's Best Little Whorehouse in Texas opening weekend record of 11.8 million for an R-rated movie. And Clint Eastwood's 1983 Sudden Impact's 9.6 million record for highest weekend debut
1993?
in December 83.
Different movie.
Sudden Impact is a Dirty Harry movie. You're thinking of Deep Impact.
Yes, I am.
The Morgan Freeman joint.
No, I was.
I'll
being-
never forget
I
the
was being
Clint
funny.
Eastwood chair at the Republican convention.
Oh
That's
my
one
God.
that has to be one of the weirdest moments in the
What a
history
fucking lunatic old man.
Of any convention.
You guys want some trivia?
Hit it.
December 29th, 1984 was 12,789 days ago, as of this recording. In history,
I
One
thought
of-
in trivia you were going to ask us to guess something.
nope.
Oh, okay.
In
So do we want some factoids?
Lay it on us, Ryan.
one of my favorite historical figures, Rasputin, was killed on this day in 1921.
Apparently his dick's in a museum.
That's not real.
What?
I don't think that's real.
Not a real dick or not a real fact?
Not a real
Not his
dick
dick.
fact.
Not his dick, probably.
He was
Yeah.
supposed to have a huge dick, though.
I mean, that's one of
Like
the,
all
the
like
legends.
the stories I've heard is like like people who are trying to discredit him would like hide cameras in his place to like get pictures of his orgies that he would have with people and like show them to the Tsar and Tsarina, and Rasputin was just like, yeah, bro, that's totally me. Like, did not give a shit. And there was one argument, I guess, somebody had with Rasputin and grabbed him by the dick and was like holding on to him, yelling at him. I don't have the deets on that, but that's the thing that sticks out in my mind.
That's very weird.
It is very weird.
How'd you guys feel about the scheme?
It's kind of all over the place.
It's not really a scheme. It's just a situation.
Yeah. I mean,
There really wasn't a scheme.
No.
it's just like, hey, we got
There's
some
some
new robots.
Insecticons. Let's go check them out. Oh, and here's an oil refinery.
Yeah, out of nowhere, the oil refinery comes into play.
Just throw that in there.
I mean, to that end, I too loved it. Again, unsure if it's blinded by love for Insecticons or if it was a good episode. There have been worse.
It's
ones.
It's enjoyable for sure.
It's a good episode.
Next thing on our list is to perhaps go into that.
This episode aired 12/29/84, written by Douglas Booth on July 27th, 1984, revised by Mr. Friedman on August 13th, 1984. So there's this weird part in the third act where, like I said, Kickback belches fire, and in the script, like I mentioned, it happens every time the Insecticons feed, like a side effect of ingesting energy, which I don't really understand. Like I said, maybe it's burning off impurities.
Oh, interesting. Could be.
In reference to the clones, which is not necessarily clear in the show, but speaks, Aaron, to the symbiotic nature that we talked about of the Insecticons, it's implied that when Bombshell blows up the Harvester, in the script, actually, he ostensibly creates parts for the clones by shooting out myriads of tiny but ultra-strong conducting wires and microcircuits from the shell connecting all the shattered pieces together. And then I guess it's shrapnel and kickback that activates them. So it's more obvious
Right.
in there. But yeah, that's it. That's really all there was.
A little of that clarity would have been nice, but glads to have it now.
Yep.
Guys. So, okay, we can.
I'm the ghost of the iconic moment.
You know?
I think a lot of the iconic moments for me were up front when the Insecticons were revealing themselves.
Yeah,
Like
I
when the
felt
guy
the same way.
stabs with his canoeing stick.
Canoeing stick!
Well, what do you call
Or?
it? That wasn't an oar.
Oh, the pole. Yeah,
His
the
pole.
Yeah, the pole. Yeah, I'm sorry.
They hadn't developed canoeing
When
stick
he's in
technology
the-
yet.
When he's
I
in
just love that.
the floating thing and hits the liquid with the stick.
And that metal thing was under there.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think the idea of just the excitement of being introduced to new bad guys that were unique, very
Absolutely.
unique and kind of exotic in their own way.
I had the same.
that opening intro in the demon swamp was pretty nice.
Again, maybe like I said with SOS Dinobots, maybe I just like weird, awesome guys. Where it's like they're just really powerful and
Who else
cool.
has that? Like, what other kind of?
Um,
let's look what we got.
I mean the Predacons.
Oh yeah, I love the Predacons. Damn, how come I wasn't a Beast Wars fan?
I don't know. There's a lot of people who don't like that show.
It's not that I don't like it. I've just never been drawn to it.
I think it's. I don't know that it quote unquote holds up, but I think it's good, especially going into the second season.
Well, what we're watching certainly doesn't hold up.
Well, that's true. I will say this is also the first time in watching this that I realized Shrapnel is the one who repeats things, and not everybody. Not all the Insecticons repeat
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Electrons.
I feel like they might play loose with that.
We'll see.
We'll keep an eye on it.
But in the script, Friedman only repeats it with Shrapnel, so I feel like he probably keeps it consistent.
All right, fuck. I don't know.
We'll see. Next time on the Autobot Decepticast.
We got Metallica. We got Megadeth. And other metal bands. I think I meant to write something a little bit. I think that was more of a cue.
Anything better?
I think that was more of a cue for me to expand on the idea of heavy metal war.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't come back to it and finish that thought.
First out of those two bands,
That's so Metallica, Megadeth. What else we got?
Kiss.
we got
Does Quick Kiss count as heavy
Was it
metal?
hair band?
How about
no.
Slipknot? But that's a later era.
No, it's
that's
new
totally metal,
No,
but
no, it's new metal.
it's not really new metal. I mean, it's
Yes, it is.
It was more contemporary metal, but I wouldn't. I call new metal like rap metal.
No, dude.
All right, you
Slipknot
school
is
me.
Squarely in new metal. If you
Okay.
want like traditional metal, you've got
Well, I just said metal.
metal.
I didn't say traditional. Okay, metal is traditional. metal.
Heavy metal.
You got and there's gonna be metal people out there that are gonna tell me that I'm not even getting into the meat of it. But
Right.
you've got, in addition to Metallica and Megadeth, you got Anthrax.
What about Rat?
Rat would actually be in there. Yes, Rat. You've got Judas Priest.
Do people say that the MC5 are among the origins of metal?
No, they would say MC5s are like the grandfathers of like hard rock, and some people would even go as far to say that they were like grandfathers of punk.
Okay.
Is White Zombie metal?
Right, White Zombie is almost new metal.
They're probably along that lines of modern rock as well, though, right? I mean, they were just among those like in the '90s.
I would say
Any weird
you
sort
could
of
go
rock
either way
could-
with White Zombie saying metal, new metal, but your Limp Bizkit,
Transitional,
your
perhaps?
Stains,
Limp
your
Bizkit.
Puddle of Muds,
That's
your
new.
Slipknots,
That's all new.
That's new metal. That's new metal. We're done.
Okay.
Go ahead, finish your point.
I didn't have one.
No, you were talking
It's
about
metal, heavy
you were
metal.
like
Heavy
saying,
metal's
so what's
next.
the metal? Yeah.
Heavy metal war.
And we might be even joined by
We might be.
a special guest. Thanks, everybody, for your support. Visit us at the APDC store while you're at it. You got posters. You got buttons.
I don't know how much longer we're gonna have stuff in stock.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do another one of them reprints. Not of the cup poster this time. That's sold out, guys. So, I mean, we're not going to do another run.
We still have some on
We
the
have
side.
some. We're not going to do another run. The Starscream poster, feeling good, looking
Yeah,
good.
do it.
Feeling good, Lewis.
And of course, the newest edition, version 2 of the buttons, the pin set.
Very nice.
Please continue to listen, subscribe to the show, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, tune in, Spotify. Apple Podcast users, why don't you chuck us one of them their reviews?
5 stars, please.
And of course, the social media at APOD and the web presence, AutopodDecepticast.com, if you want to dive a little deeper into the show here. And
why
finally,
wouldn't you?
You would.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not a fool. You want to find out more about
The
this.
girl is mine.
She'll never have another lover. And if you want to support what we do, peep the Patreon at patreon.com/APODcast. Thank you,
You
everybody.
got it right.
I'm getting a little better.
Hey, this is a good episode.
Thanks,
Marginal.
everybody. Bye, bye, bye.
3 hours and 17 minutes. I also like how the main characters are Hicks, but they're all very progressive.
Yeah.
They're like they're very on top of things socially.
They're Canadian.
It's true. Canadian Hicks are different from American Hicks, I suppose.
in this universe.
You're right.
Okay. I guess we get this going.
Pitter patter, get out her.
For a guy that hates that show.
I don't hate it. It's one of those shows where I'm like, I won't be mad if you want to watch it. I'll stay in the room, but I'm never going to choose to watch it on my own.
I was a little worried from that before I started watching it that I wouldn't enjoy it. That the YouTube clips were sort of the meat of the goodness of it, but it's really not the case. Every scene is very well done and hilarious in its own way.
Caleb tried to make that happen for me, but
Give it a shot.
I have. I've
trying-
watched like 3 episodes.
Okay, I'm trying to remember the last time you introduced us to a thing that we all caught on to and just
I don't know if it's ever happened.
rode the wave.
You want to talk about Jim Jones?
And now I'm just fixated on everything Jonestown.
You can listen to those tapes. It's horrible.
I've seen the images.
900
images are
people.
horrible.
Yeah,
Just
it's crazy.
bodies on bodies on bodies.
Yeah, it's crazy. All of them. Ugh. They had to use snow shovels to pick those people up because it was 3 days in the summer in Guyana before the authorities got to the compound.
I wonder if the Hale Bop guy, right before he
Marshall Applewhite
finished his own suicide, I wonder if he was ever like, man, I just can't get those Jim Jones numbers.
Yeah, there were like 32 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
And one dude who was left alive to run the website, and that's real.
he still, like, they said you have to do
No,
it.
I think he was like, hey, maybe I'll run the website.
Smart.
Somebody's got to get this information
Well,
out.
he had to be in the house. You'd think Marshall Applewhite was
Imagine.
like, you'll do this after I'm done, right? And the guy was
The-
like, yeah.
The craziest thing is it was over 3 days time where they killed themselves.
Branch Davidians.
No.
Oh.
That's Waco.
That's Waco. No.
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. Thank you. Yeah. Those all
Just
happened
look to me.
Those happened around the same time. Well, and
Oh, it was-
cult leaders and serial killers
There's like
are
10
different.
years between the two.
I don't know what just happened there.
Caleb has
Caleb's gonna have to
exploded
hold,
the
he's gonna have to
clip
hold that whole
For
arm
the
now.
microphone.
I'm trying to decide, is that repairable or is
Yeah,
that
I think he
busted?
just popped the clip off the table. Or
I think it's busted.
oh no.
Here's what we can do. It's not as I could probably use some Gorilla Glue to try and fix it, but in the short term,
Get the stand.
we have a solution.
Brew Cells is the sponsor of Autopod Decepticast. Yes, 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 yes.